What porn and masturbation do to the brain. From a psychopathological perspective, this is not my post. Enjoy today's message. If you are new to watching porn or masturbating, you will experience a large dopamine surge because you are experiencing stimuli, full nudity and penetrative sex, that for eons were only available in person, when having sex. The presence of these stimuli, and the release of neurotransmitters that make you feel good was evolutionary meant to happen only during sex or anticipation of sex, and was meant to reinforce reproduction through operant conditioning, psychological phenomenon which helps us choose which behaviors to repeat based on the rewards we get. It also inspired the school of behaviorism, which posits that we are essentially like atoms bouncing around chaotically in the world, and our only guide to life is our reward system. The overload of dopamine will feel very good at first. However, the brain is considered to have plasticity, meaning it can change shape and functioning based on behavior and life experiences. And this gets into the psychology of addiction. The more you do something unnatural, like take drugs that mimic neurotransmitters, the more used to that stimuli your brain becomes. And your brain demands an increasing amount of dopamine. This is why porn users often begin to rapidly switch from image to image or video to video, and look for more extreme and deviant types of porn, because their reward system, area of the brain where dopamine receptors are clustered, becomes temporarily damaged from the overload of dopamine. You build up a resistance to dopamine, and likely serotonin, the neurotransmitter that makes you feel good after orgasming, and a deficiency of this chemical is linked to depression. Not only does this resistance make you seek out more porn, it makes you feel less natural highs in your day-to-day life. Things that used to make you happy no longer do, because your reward system has experienced high levels of pleasure from something that is artificial but easily accessible. This is also why people with porn addiction lose their ability to feel joy when masturbating, and just do it to feel normal. The good news is that these changes are not permanent. Because of plasticity, semen retention, and abstinence from porn, actually rewires your reward center to seek out pleasurable experiences in other more natural ways, such as socializing, eating healthy, and exercising. I believe it is possible to retain without doing any of these things, but it is very difficult because you will likely go through a state of depression the first week or so because your brain is not finding reward anywhere, leading to desperate relapse in order to feel anything at all. It is too soon to have made structural changes, and you are still operating on the old reward system of needing porn to get dopamine and serotonin. I think ultimately retention gives you energy, improves social skills and confidence because addiction and shame go hand in hand. Free yourself from addiction, and you free yourself from shame, which is possibly the worst feeling we have evolved to experience. It permeates everything we do when we develop an addiction to porn. Some of it is related to language and cognition, the thoughts we tell ourselves. A recent study found that people who morally disapprove of porn have more anxiety about watching it, and therefore likely feel worse than people who support sexual liberation and porn use. So why not just change your relationship to porn by becoming more tolerant of it? Well, it still doesn't change the fact that porn use rewires the brain. Kuhn and Golinet found that heavy porn use is linked to deficiency in gray matter of the frontal cortex, area associated with delayed gratification, which is why porn users often self-report struggling to set and reach goals in school, at work, and in relationships, and changes in the structure of the reward system. So you can change how you feel about masturbation and porn and feel marginally better than someone who masturbates and feels shame about watching porn, but you will still have a brain that is not functioning at its optimal level. Personally, I approach it from a psychological point of view because I like to know the science behind things, but religious and cultural explanations of semen retention are just as viable, albeit different, because they approach the topic from a perspective more related to storytelling and art, which in my mind goes hand in hand with science. Stories, cultural and religious traditions stem from generations of human suffering and failure, and guide us so that we may rise to a higher plane of existence than people in past generations could, and leave something that future generations can use to rise higher than we did. It is the result of trial and error, and it is a form of science. Unfortunately, there is a dearth of research connecting modern science and religious cultural teachings on semen retention, but there is also hope that the two fields will come together in the future and realize that their goals are the same: to make people happy.